Welcome to What Is She Thinking? Why moving scrambles your brain and what you can do about it. With full disclosure, I have just moved house, and as Dr. Heather can attest, my brain is fully scrambled. We know,
Scrambled like eggs.
and we know that that is not an uncommon scenario or feeling. I have personally moved a lot in my life with my career. Dr. Heather has moved a lot, and she knows a lot about what happens to our brains when it's going on. So we want today to A, let me rant a little, B, talk about some helpful things that go on when you're moving, could be happening in your brain, and what you can do to bring things down to a more palatable level. Does that sound about right?
That's what we would like. That's the goal.
Yeah, that is the goal. I boiled my coffee this morning.
True story, folks. True story.
True story. We were getting ready to record, and I was, I'm in my new kitchen. I've got my office. I'm going to have a nice coffee. And I am not used to how fast this stove makes coffee. And my whole system was thrown off. And my coffee boiled into non-existence, except for some very poor remnants, which I'm still drinking. And I managed to set off the smoke detector.
Bonus.
Yeah. So tell me, is there a parable of brain moving in there?
This is a perfect opener. I love that this is fresh from reality, fresh off reality this morning. And this is a perfect example of how disruptive moving is to just the seemingly most simple, ordinary things. I'm thinking right now that there are 3 attentional pathways in your brain that are just really confused and disrupted. And those are your what, where, and when pathways related to attention. And so I'm picturing a sleepy Melanie this morning, looking forward to coffee. And your what is that you want coffee, but your where is you're walking into a new kitchen. You don't exactly know where everything is anymore. Your when is off because this stove takes longer than your previous stove. And so your what, where, and when pathways are all disrupted and scrambled. And those are taking time to completely reorganize and relearn everything about your morning routine and your new environment.
Well, how long does that take? Because I can't have bad coffee this many mornings.
It's funny. The most important tasks, the most important things your brain is rebuilding, those will happen quicker because they are a necessity, and your brain prioritizes that. Coffee, yeah, that's way up here on the priority list. Something like, where's my cheese grater? It's probably a little lower. For most of us, coffee's more urgent than cheese. So
there might be 1 or 2 people who'd fight us in the comments, but
absolutely,
mostly,
absolutely.
I'll never see my cheese grater again. I think my cheese grater is in my storage unit. I have no idea.
Do you have a cheese grater?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do.
Okay.
Do I honestly know? No, I don't.
But your coffee
was one of the first things I put in place. And it's interesting you say that about the attentional pathways, because I know that is something when I am in the field, when I've been in the field, I'm very focused on that. I'm very good at moving from place to place. Mm-hmm. When it comes to moving house, it is entirely different. So I have this skill set that works very well at moving, from nice, safe hotel to war zone and back. And that's moving a lot of attentional pathways. Can we come up with a cooler name? Let's see if we can come up with a cooler name. But yes, the parts in my brain that know where to go.
What, where, when.
Yeah. So the what, where, when I'm excellent at. Or I might come up with an even cooler name. We'll see. Okay. But it's a totally different skill for some reason, or it's a totally different experience. Because I've moved house 5 times in the last 3 years.
That's a lot.
And I find it so I'm curious about that. Like, why is it that I can be so comfortable with rapid change in one area and uncomfortable with change in another?
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm sure that was a little bit bewildering to you too, because you think that these things should map on and then they don't, and you're thrown for a loop, and that makes everything even worse. And the truth of it is that moving is cognitive chaos, and it's not just because of the rapid pace of change. Part of it's because that when you move house, you're bringing your identity with you, and you're not just bringing your identity with you, you're shifting your identity. When you're off to work in war zones, you know that that's temporary. And it might be temporary for 2 days or temporary for 2 months, who knows, but it is temporary. And you don't have to bring your entire life with you. When you're moving house, you're making a lot of decisions about what comes with you, what doesn't, where do things go. You're in a new neighborhood, perhaps a new city. There's a lot of new learning going on outside of just what's happening in the moment. And also when you're
so there's a lot of new learning in war zones, though. I would say that. Sorry, I just want to say, but I think your identity point's really interesting.
Yeah.
And that idea of the bringing everything with us, like if we're just narrowing it down a bit here at the top, then I think it's interesting that I guess for me, it's that it feels like a very different task.
Oh, it's a very different task. And not to say that there's not learning in war zones, but
yeah,
it's very focused. You're very goal directed. Moving, there's a lot more involved. It's not just the goal of taking your boxes and unpacking them. It's of taking your life and unpacking it and fitting it into a new environment. And how is that going to work? What are the social connections that are going to change as a result of that? How does your identity change as a result of that? So I have a question for you about what you're experiencing right now. You're in the same neighborhood, but how has that changed how you feel about where you are?
So this is, I've come back to Canada after over 20 years away, and I've been living very close to friends who are like family, like very close. Like I could see their house. I can see Russia from my house. I could see their house. And I've moved into this new place, which is lovely, much more spacious, lots of room. I can get my stuff out of storage. Great. But my immediate concern was, oh my gosh, I was not going to see my friends. And one of my friends was like, you have lived continents away from us for decades. Why are you so panicked that moving 5 blocks further away from us is going to be the deciding factor? And that was like a real concern for me. So when you're talking about some of the learning or some of the change, for me, it's social change. I think that I feel very strongly when I'm moving house. Whereas I think when often when I'm going into a conflict area, I'm going in with a team. So I have my social identity with me. I would say in some ways I'm bringing them with me. This is for me, not necessarily for other folks, but or at least it would feel that way. And I would usually make sure I had 1 or 2 things, even in the smallest bag, that made me feel like me. But something like this, my concern was, what if I never see anyone again? And my friends very sweetly all came over the first night after I got in to show me how long it took them to bike here, how long it took, basically my godchildren, they're like my godchildren, to walk, and like how long it took everybody to come over. And it was so sweet because it's such a great way to support your friends or to be supported if there's a move going on, because it showed me that, my biggest fear was not real. I don't know what that is. I don't know where that fits in the type of learning you're talking about, but that was what this one was for me.
Yeah, this is social learning, and it's also wrapped up in your identity and who you are. And when you're moving, as you know right now, your cortisol levels are super high, your stress is through the roof. And that can generalize to all parts of our lives because it feels like everything is changing, even if we're staying in the same neighborhood. And I love that they came over and they showed you. They actually visited you and they showed you, we're here. We can be here in a few moments if needed. And we are here right now to show you support and to show you that this is your new reality. And moving is all about shifting reality and identity. It's huge for our brain. It's huge. And this involves so many networks that are kind of all scrambled at the same time and working to rebuild and reconstruct your reality at the same time. And your friends, that seemingly small gesture really did a lot for your brain and kind of toned down that social anxiety. And I love that they did that. How lovely.
Yeah, it was brilliant, right? It was like such a brilliant thing to do. And they also didn't ask me if they could come over. They told me.
They just showed up.
Yeah, well, they just sent a message saying, yeah, we're coming over at 6. And it was like, oh, okay, well, this is happening. And it was it was perfect. And I just thought, like, that's such a beautiful thing we can do for other people, or find a version to do it for other people, or to ask for someone to do it for us.
Yeah, and they didn't just show you proof of rebuilding your reality. They, with you, created a memory of how this is going to work. And now you have this lovely anchor point in your hippocampus. And this lovely story you're telling yourself in your prefrontal cortex about not just theoretically they can come over, but they've actually come over. And you had this beautiful first memory with them in your new place. I love that.
Yeah, it was great. I want to go back to something you said there that you kind of tossed away, but I actually think is super important, that you brought up that when we move, our cortisol levels are high, and therefore we generalize stress about everything. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when you're stressed, that really sets your entire brain on alert for things, and seemingly small problems can feel huge. And things that we should feel okay about, we're going to feel pretty insecure about. Like, am I going to see my friends? But that could also generalize to, I don't know where to put the contents of this box. My life is chaotic and I don't know what to do, and decision fatigue too. So it can generalize to a whole bunch of other things and kind of amplify the impact of worries that we wouldn't normally have.
Well, because I was wondering about this, because it's something I have noticed over time that I kind of know, and I know this about myself. It doesn't change it, but I know it, is that when I am moving, I will start to feel like everything is wrong. Finances, relationship, the way my professional life is going, it all becomes very tenuous, and it feels like it's all very much under threat in some way. And it's like in my mind, this move, or with a lot of them, because I do move a lot, I'm like, okay, this is probably not entirely true. I have to tell myself that, like, you might need to give this a week. And I'm just wondering, is that what you're talking about when you're talking about generalizing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything feels chaotic. And that's because you're not in the traditional fight or flight sense of, oh my God, there's a bear chasing me, I have to run. But what moving does is actually puts your brain under this constant stress of survival mode. So your brain undergoes this survival mode and questions everything. And that's absolutely what's happening. And just as you were talking about, when you were in war zones, you'd have something tangible to kind of help ground you and help bring positivity. That kind of thing can help a lot when moving too. Just like if you were able to have your delicious cup of coffee exactly how you wanted it this morning, that would have taken you a long way. Small comforts can provide years. Small comforts can provide a lot of relief. So what have you found small comforts that have helped you during this process, that have helped ground you?
Yeah, I would say, of course I have, but I'm curious because you've also moved a lot. So I want to know, what is the worst move you've ever had and why?
This is going to sound so counterintuitive, but the worst move was actually the last move I made. And we live in an island in the Charleston area, my husband and I, and we were staying on the same island. We moved about 1.5 miles, and we deluded ourselves into thinking, oh, it's a mile and a half. It's not one of these big cross-country moves we've done. It's going to be so easy. Incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. And the reason is because I think of the sheer lack of preparation. We thought it would be easy, so we didn't prepare as much. When I was preparing to move across the country, I had colored paper with labels on it, a different color for every room in the house. And so every box was color coded. This move, not so much. And instead of hiring movers, we rented a U-Haul. And we thought, oh, it'll take 5 or 6 trips over a day. Nope, that really, really quickly turned into about 20 trips over 6 days. So it was the lack of understanding the reality of how long it would take for such a small move that completely threw everything into chaos and completely stressed both of us out.
And you let go of these things that make moves work for you and probably for other people. If anyone else could actually, I hear this and I'm like, this is so Dr. Heather to like do the color coded moves. Like, I'm like,
I like organizing.
I know you're great at it as well, right? And so I can totally see that. Like it's this, oh, well, this isn't going to be that. This isn't going to be a big shift. This is going to be a smaller one. Therefore, I can throw a few of these things out. And chaos. I mean, I'm sorry, but also I feel like there are going to be so many people who will have been through that. And you mentioned doing it with your beloved husband, Brian. And I wonder, did that cause relationship stress?
What did you think, my friend?
It was rhetorical. No.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I think that the key to that is we know that we're both under a lot of stress, and that means we're going to snap really easily. And the key is to just know when those things are about to happen and give each other physical space.
Yes, I love this. Like actual
physical space. And also if somebody, when, because you're going to snap, it's going to happen. When somebody snaps, just let them blow off their steam and don't take it personally, because we know that we're all under stress.
I love this because it's having that awareness, right, of what this is, so that we can give grace to other people and to ourselves, which isn't always easy to do, and the physicality of space. Can I tell you a funny story that is not about one of my moves, but it is about relationship stress in a move. So it is. So my sister-in-law used to be with the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And so I know, she's cool. She's a cool lady.
Yeah.
They move quite a bit. And so, and she's organized. And my brother is a wonderful person. And they were doing this move.
Feel a butt coming on.
There it is. And so they'd been doing this move, and it was like from a place they'd been down to, the new city. And they get to this restaurant where they're going to sit down and have dinner before they go and spend the first night in the new home. And everything is chaos. The stuff that is in the moving truck hasn't arrived. The cat is angry. It's a lot of chaos going on. And they go out to the car after this meal, and my sister-in-law, and it's all going well. And my sister-in-law opens the back and says, "Where's that bag?" Sorry, I don't know if you can hear. My dog is pressing her play buttons. That's how I'll come back to that, because that's how I've settled her in. And she opens the trunk and she's like, "Where is the bag that I left here?" And my brother said, "Oh, don't worry. I dropped it off at the Goodwill." And proudly says it. And it was a bag that she had put, which was her favorite clothes. The clothes she absolutely wanted to have for her first night and first few days. And he Anyway, somebody snapped.
Yes.
Somebody snapped.
Did she get it back?
No. It was in
Oh,
another city at that point. It was gone.
oh.
He thought he was being efficient. He didn't communicate clearly with his partner. He forgot that she is the efficient, organized one. And chaos ensued. And it is still spoken about to this day, like, I don't know, 7 years later, 8 years later. So, you know, there are fleeces that have not been forgotten. So I don't know, is that because that one really went in her hippocampus, I guess?
Well, there are a few things going on there. I mean, for sure, that is a definite hippocampus wiring, but this is what happens, right? We know what happens when people are stressed out is memory impairment occurs. It happens. When Brian and I were moving from Santa Barbara, California to Lexington, Kentucky, we were at the very end of our move, had the cross country, like the big truck all packed, right? Just a couple of suitcases out to take with us on the road. And a friend came over to say goodbye. And she said, "Oh, what's in that cabinet right there?" And we were like, "Oh, we never use it." And she opened it. And it turns out it had about 6 cases of wine in it from our wine club memberships that we would have forgotten.
Really? Enough?
Thankfully for that, because of that friend, we were able to take the wine with us.
I really do think this does speak more again to the point of having a friend or support of some kind who is not under the stress.
Yes. Find somebody whose brain is not as damaged as yours temporarily. Do you have one of these friends?
This might be my top takeaway from you. Yeah, so I have a friend who loves moving. I have
wait, say that again.
Look, she's a magical weirdo and she loves to move. Like her experience of it, she came down to help me. And because I, of course, was like, oh, much like yours, I'm like, I'm only moving a few blocks away. I can do this. She came down and she texted me and was like, "I can't wait to have great friend time together." And I texted her back and I was like, "You do know you're helping me move."
You do know we're not spending a day at the park together.
But
that's not what this is.
She was in heaven. She had timers, she had Sharpies, and she was so perky. And she said to me, you know, she said, "To me, this is good friend time." She's like, "I love this." And this is, of course, and this is even with me not being the perkiest Mel you've ever seen. This was with a bit of
this is moving Mel.
Moving Mel can be a bit of a grumpy Mel. Let's put it that way. And she just ignored it and would say things like, "Okay, well, now we've got to put these boxes in the car and go." And like but it was great because honestly, I would have been on the fetal position, or what I like to call the existential angst position, which is where I lie on the floor. It's kind of good for Easter, sort of in a cross-like position on the floor, and just kind of wait for the universe to take me, right? Like, well, I guess this move isn't happening. And that's what I would do in that scenario. And instead, she showed up and behaved much like I would behave in a war zone and just made it happen. Perkily.
I love it. I love this. And by the way, treasure her. And I'm going to say something to you that sounds really unfair. Her brain is built for moving. And she is rare. And we should take these rare friends whose brains are built for moving and absolutely treasure them and thank them and keep them close. And so where your brain sees all of this cognitive chaos happening and just immediately goes into cognitive overload, her brain is probably built to handle that very specific kind of cognitive load. She doesn't overload with it. And she actually sees it as a puzzle to solve. And so while you're stressed out in the take me away universe position, existential angst pose, if they don't have that in yoga, they really should, honestly. Uh, she is actually like thinking of your house as a giant puzzle, and she's actually getting dopamine squirts and her reward system's activated. It's actually fun for her. So she's a very special breed and a very special friend.
Oh, is she ever? I'll tell you what, I would not be where I am today with a boiled coffee even if it wasn't for her. But what's interesting is when we were talking about what we get like pleasure from, right? The earlier. And I was thinking about that. She gets pleasure from this move. Whereas the thing that I tend to do, and we heard Sonora using her play button because she wants to play and she wants to go outside. I get pleasure from setting things up to be secure for my pets. I always I build my move around making it secure for her or my previous animals, and my art and my music. So she worries about the puzzle of you have to figure out where things will go in the kitchen, which I know is important.
The kitchen that has approximately 35,000 tiny objects in it.
But what I will do and what makes me feel dopamine squirted, I don't know what it is when it's happened, right? It's like a fireworks show has gone off, is when I can say, oh, here is where some of my precious treasures go. And then I feel like, oh, it's me now. Now it's me. And when I can be like, oh, Sonora, here's your buttons, which she started using immediately, very early in the morning. And here's your bed. And then I feel calm. And I wonder if that goes back to the point you started on, which is about then I feel like my identity has been transferred. That's where my identity is transferred.
Yeah, you feel like your identity has been transferred, but also you're not getting that dopamine squirt that like, ooh, yay, this is fun. You're building some serotonin up. And that's less of a pew pew fireworks exciting feeling and more of a feeling of safety and security and groundedness. Oh. And these are through acts of love for Sonora, your fur baby.
So do I like serotonin more than dopamine? Is it just we got to figure out which one we like and do that?
No, we don't have to choose. We like all of them. It's more about what's appropriate for you in the moment. And this is what you're getting from this moment. And this is your way forward through this moving experience.
I think so. For me, I think I get, and I wonder this for other people. So like I put on a playlist. You asked about simple pleasures. Put on a playlist. Have music that makes me feel either like I hate the fact that my coffee's ruined. I'm not going to wrap it, but there was some or things that'll get me kind of unpacking where I'm enjoying the process because I'm doing something I already enjoy. I don't really enjoy it, not like my friend, but I enjoy the music. And the serotonin, though, for me is what makes me feel like it's home. And the same thing with the serotonin be also when my friends showed up, because that was like, oh, I'm okay. I have my pizza.
Oh, there's probably serotonin there and probably a little oxytocin also. And that's that love hormone that makes you feel bonded with people.
So I think, and you asked about the neighborhood and I sort of went on about something else, but I wonder if that's the dopamine for me because of how I'm wired, which is I have met the people who run the Oaxacan chocolate coffee shop. I have met lots of my neighbors and their dogs. If you ask me their dogs' names, I know. Chocho and Clover are adorable. So I get dopamine from exploring.
Yep.
For me, that's like, and that's fits, right?
You and Dora. The explorers.
So I don't know. I think that's probably, I think about all these moves I've done. And if I was going to wrap it up as we kind of come, like we've covered so much, but I'm trying to think, what have we missed except for that's how I feel about moving. Your case of wine. I think my worst move was when I was leaving Jerusalem. I will come back to the takeaways and please remind me. But I just have to say my worst move was when I was leaving Jerusalem and my flight was like middle of the night, and I had my giant dog, Dobby, and my cat, Song, and they were flying with me, and my stuff had already gone in a storage container, and I was moving somewhere another place I'd never been, but trying to move them. And the company that was supposed to take us to the airport brought like a tiny little SUV. And I had an 100-pound dog with his crate and all of the suitcases and the cat. So it didn't work. And it was the middle of the night. It was 2:30 in the morning. And I was like, you guys, you have to get me something else. And so they sent, and I do not lie to you, an entire tour bus.
The time Melanie used a tour bus for moving.
But in sending the tour bus, we lost so much time. And then they parked the tour bus. They couldn't bring the tour bus up to departures for reasons. So they parked it at the very, very back of the airport and left my dog, my cat, my stuff, all of us there very late. And by the time we got to the terminal, the flight had closed.
No.
And so I had left my house. My house was, gone. And I was sitting in Tel Aviv airport with my dog, who was quite upset, my cat, who was quite upset, and me, who was quite upset. And once again, people to the rescue. Because I was, at that point, I hadn't slept. I was just like, somebody has to help me. And people did. I texted somebody. They sent a very nice man who somehow got everything in. And then we went, and I met my friend, my very good friend, who just opened up their arms and said, you're going to get on that flight tomorrow, but for now, you're going to come with us and sleep. And the dog and the cat are coming, and that's it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So, it was still really, and when I landed where I was going, I had 2 friends surprise me to help me set up.
Wow.
Yeah. So if that's my takeaway, is friends. Friends. People who support you.
Beautiful.
And playlists and purge. Give as much away as you can.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. That needs to be another episode.
That needs to be a whole episode.
That's a whole other episode. Stay tuned for moving part 2, the purge.
Okay, I'm writing this down because we are doing the purge. Yeah, but
for sure. Yeah. I will say, I think along with those takeaways, I think that you have to find something that gets you through each day. Mm-hmm. And those are the small wins. And you might not get the dopamine squirt like your special moving friend does. Find the playlist, find the music, find the security blanket that you can cuddle up with at night, and find something that gets you through. Be proud of your accomplishments every day. It always goes slower than you think. And expect the unexpected. Moving is always stressful, and something unexpected, usually negatively, always happens. And it's going to be okay, and you're going to get through it. When you're completely under cognitive chaos and stressed out and that cortisol is spiked, take a break. Take a break, eat an ice cream, have a dance party, go outside, pet your pet. And when possible, be like Miss Melanie and have good friends.
I love that. I love the take a break as well. Taking a break is so, just accepting what you said there, accepting that it's not going to happen you saw my face when you said that, but.
I know, you were like, oh, that reality. But it is reality. But if you set that as an expectation to manage, it's okay.
And then when you realize that in the end, it does happen, even if you forget stuff, even if you and I have both done this, you and I have crisscrossed applesauce with moves. And at the end of the day, There are very few things you cannot leave behind. Stay tuned for the move, part 2, The Purge. Already got a title. That like, and if you take the break, you are so much more. Like the other night, I cleaned up the bedroom so that I could close the bedroom door and feel like it looked like a real room.
That is a small luxury. That's a
And
win.
I closed the door and pretended and just took a break.
Yeah, absolutely.
Watched a little TV show. I took your advice. Yeah, and it was great. And carry on the next day. Okay, so we are going to remember. I want to remember also, in terms of what I want to take away from what you said. I want to take away what you said about that the way it scrambles our brains will make us generalize about everything, and that is not true. That is just chemicals soaking our brain. And that will change in time as we move through the process. And if we take breaks, if we give ourselves these small wins, if we do these, get the dopamine squirt wherever we can. Absolutely. I want to take that. And I loved what you said about giving your partner physical space. I loved that. It's right up there for me with the, protect the cook. You've got some good ones, good practical tips for keeping relationships intact.
That's important. These little tips are important. This is how we roll. And I want you to know that tomorrow your coffee routine will be easier than it was today. Promise? Your brain is rebuilding its reality, and tomorrow's reality will be better than today's.
Whew, okay, we promise that to all of you. That's a money back guarantee. Of course, this is free, but it's
worth the price of admission.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. Tell us your worst or best, if you want to be a show-off, moving story. And if you are one of those special magic moving friends, God bless you.
The world needs you.
The world needs you. Get out there and do your thing. If not, like, share, subscribe, drop in the comments what you need and what you wish had never happened. And we will be back next week. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks. See you next time.